Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Dusan Vlahovic and determine whether he would be the right choice to lead Arsenal's attack. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on how Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side look to attack, then we'll shift to how Vlahovic does fit in, and lastly we'll break down Vlahovic's characteristics to see how he can improve Arsenal's attack. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, we have Arsenal starting in a 4-2-3-1 here. What we end up seeing is that you have Lacazette up front ahead of Martinelli, Odegaard, and Saka, and we'll start with Xhaka and Thomas Partey in that midfield zone. If we start from the left-hand side, what we end up seeing is that Martinelli does look to shift into central areas, and that often sees him shifting into the gap between the right back and the center back. That creates space for Kieran Tierney to push forward, and then Xhaka drops off into the inside left position to cover for Tierney's advanced positioning. If that isn't the case, you can see Martinelli hugging the touchline and Tierney holding a deeper position. And as of late, we've seen Xhaka pushing in between the right midfielder and the central midfielder into advanced positions to help Arsenal advance their play down that left-hand side. The other alternative for Arsenal is that if Martinelli does hug that touchline and pulls away the right back, we've seen specifically Nuno Tavares have the knack of shifting into narrow inside left positions while Xhaka sits deep in a central area, and that's where we see him making underlapping runs beyond the right back and hoping that the right-sided attacking midfielder doesn't track his movement to combine with Martinelli. In that central area, we see Lacazette often dropping off deeper to serve as an additional passing option in that midfield zone, and that does encourage runners to break in beyond him, but it helps Arsenal bypass the press because it gives them an additional player in that central area. That's where you could see Odegaard looking to push forward into the final third, but there have been times where they both drop off into pockets of space, with Odegaard in particular shifting into an inside right position on the outside of the opposing side's left attacking midfielder to get on the ball. There you would see Lacazette dropping into central areas in between the central midfield duo to get on the ball, and that helps Arsenal overload that central area to help them dictate the tempo of the game in the midfield zone and help them progress play. In those situations where Lacazette and Odegaard do drop off into the midfield zone, that's where you do see Martinelli shifting laterally into the right back center back gap, or sometimes you could see him occupying the two center backs. If we focus on Odegaard, when he drops off into those deeper zones, he looks to push forward and progress the play, but he also does have the knack of making runs in between the center backs and the left backs to offer support for Saka. That was key for Arsenal because there were often times where Saka has been left isolated in 1v2 and at time 1v3 situations, but here Odegaard's movement does pull away a marker, and that creates more space for Saka to succeed in those 1v1 duels. Ultimately, the other key facet to Odegaard's game is his ability to help Arsenal bypass the press. As we've witnessed this season, we've seen sides in two banks of four look to press Arsenal across the pitch. And with Lacazette occupying the center backs, Odegaard often drops off deeper into the midfield zone to get on the ball, and the center backs don't track his movement. And because the midfielders are looking to step towards Arsenal's double pivot, Odegaard's often the spare man that gets on the ball and helps Arsenal bypass that initial phase of pressure to progress the play. Over on the right-hand side, Saka's often hugging the touchline to provide the width, and he's pulling away the left back, and this is where Odegaard's movement and Tomiyasu pushing forward is integral. In the early stages of the season, we witnessed Arsenal shift to a 3-2-5 with Tomiyasu adopting a deeper inside right position, but as the season has progressed, we've witnessed Arsenal succeed down that right-hand side when Tomiyasu has made overlapping and underlapping runs to peg back the left-sided attacking midfielder to drag him out of the game so that he can provide help for the left back when Saka gets into 1v1 situations. And if that isn't the case, then that creates a 2v1 overload, and Tomiyasu is able to combine with Saka or get the ball in the final third to deliver a cross into the penalty area. In terms of Arsenal's attack, the only other change that we can see Arteta consistently making is the introduction of Smith Rowe. If he plays in that number 10 role instead of Odegaard, we do witness him adopting similar movement out into the wider areas to help out with the wider players and looking to receive the ball in pockets of space between the lines. Or he could play on the left-hand side if Martinelli is unavailable, and that's where you see him dropping off into that gap between the right midfielder and the central midfielder to pull away the right back, and that creates space for Tierney to push forward, and at times he can drop off deeper into that inside left position to get on the ball, and that allows the left back to push into advanced positions to run at the opposing side's right back. Besides that, We do see the Arsenal center backs looking to carry the ball forward if the central midfielders are blocked out of the game and can't get on the ball. And that's where you will see them stepping forward and looking to play balls over the top into the path of Martinelli or Saka, making runs off the fullbacks, whether it be in behind the fullbacks into space in the channels, or looking to make peeling runs across the fullbacks into the gap between the fullbacks and the center backs to get in behind. If that isn't the case, they'll look to slide the ball out into the wider areas to help Arsenal's fullbacks progress the game. So when you insert Vlahovic into the Arsenal starting 11, he offers this attack various elements of versatility, whether it be occupying the center backs or dropping off deeper to influence the game. While Vlahovic's goal stats over the past 2 seasons have been impressive, he offers various elements towards his game that create several issues for the opposing side's defense, and it benefits his attack as it creates space for his teammates to get into better attacking positions. If we focus around the penalty area, his movement is the first thing that comes to mind. Yes, he is capable of making runs in between the fullbacks and the center backs to get on the ball in the channel, but he serves as an outlet if his team is looking to play long. If they're looking to punt balls into those zones around the midfield, he's able of shifting across to drag away markers and hold up play to bring his midfielders forward. And he's capable of holding off defenders and bringing down aerial balls to ensure that he links play with his teammate. Here we witness Napoli pressure ahead of the Fiorentina center back, and as that play develops, he clips the ball into the path of Vlahovic, who drops off into his own half, and you can see that no pressure is applied from behind. That gives the striker enough time to chest the ball down, and when he does bring it down, you could see that the two Napoli players converge to try to apply pressure late, but Vlahovic is already aware of his surroundings, and he slides the ball between both into his teammate pushing forward down the right channel. Here you see Vlahovic chesting down the ball in the halfway circle with 3 players around him, and what he does well here is that when they do look to converge, once again, he sees his teammates around him, and he's able to attract 2 markers in towards his path, and that's where he simply lays the ball off to his teammate to help them retain possession. Similar to most strikers, he's capable of playing on the last line and looking to make runs off the shoulder of the center backs, and that gives Arsenal a direct threat that they lack unless Aubameyang is playing. In the build-up to Vlahovic's goal against Genoa, here you could see him playing off the last defender and anticipating a long ball over the top. As that play develops, when that ball is played, you can see him bringing down the ball superbly with his first touch as he makes a run off the high line, and he is onside. Now, what's integral here is that when Vlahovic gets that first touch, he brings the ball down onto his stronger left foot. Although pressure is still applied, he's able to chip the keeper superbly from this audacious position. Against Milan, here you can see Vlahovic playing off the last shoulder of the Milan center back, and he anticipates a long ball over the top, and that's where you see him beginning to make a run off the center back, who is currently ball watching. That gives Vlahovic the advantage, and now he's able to make the run off the center back, who is flat-footed, and when that pass is played over the high line, what he does well here is that he stretches out his body to ensure that he gets a good first touch, and as the play develops, he pulls the keeper off his line, and that's where he's able to round him to get into a legitimate goal-scoring position, whether it be making runs specifically in behind the center backs off their shoulders, or spinning across them in towards the half spaces to get him behind for a shooting angle. In this example, you see Duncan on the ball and no pressure being applied to him, but focus on the edge of the penalty area as you have Vlahovic occupying 2 center backs. As that play develops, now you can see that Vlahovic is looking to shift laterally towards the left half space, and because no pressure is applied towards Duncan, he's aiming to play the pass into that zone. When that pass is played, you can see that Vlahovic is checking his shoulder to see if the center back tracks his movement, and because the separation has been created with his run, now what he does is that he lets the ball roll across his body, as it now places him in a shooting position where he could fire an effort with his left foot on goal. As you can see, the center back isn't tight with him, and that results in the ball going across Vlahovic's body, and from that position he fires a first-time effort on goal with his left foot that forces the keeper into a save. Following a Fiorentina break, what you end up witnessing is that Vlahovic is in between both center backs, and he's looking to make a run in behind. As that play develops, you could see one of the center backs stepping to the ball carrier, and that now creates space for Vlahovic to run across his man into that right half space zone. As you can see, the pass is poked across the center back in towards the path of Vlahovic, which places him in a legitimate goal scoring position. And although he doesn't doesn't score here, Vlahovic's movement places Fiorentina in a legitimate goal-scoring position that results in Odriozola tapping in the rebound. If you play balls over the top, he's capable of bringing them down with his chest and linking with his teammates. Or you could simply play the ball towards him on the ground as he drops off deeper to get his midfield involved. In this example, focus on Vlahovic in that midfield zone, dropping off a center back who isn't applying tight pressure, as a Fiorentina ball player is now looking to play the ball across two players to Vlahovic. When Vlahovic receives the ball, because that pressure isn't tight, he's able to play a first-time ball across the opposing side's midfielder in towards his teammate, and that results in Fiorentina getting more men forward into the attack, and you can now see Vlahovic now looking to sprint forward to get into the penalty area. This example here, you could see Vlahovic receiving the ball with tight pressure behind him, and you can see that there are 4 Napoli players surrounding him. He has 2 options available to pass the ball towards, but as he takes his first touch, that results in 3 Napoli players closing him down, and you're expecting him to potentially lose the ball if he doesn't lay it off to his defender. What he does well here is that he takes his second touch across the defender who's looking to step in from his blind side, and that results in Vlahovic evading the pressure from 3 Napoli players, and he looks in towards the penalty area and sees that his teammates are outnumbered. So rather than just hoofing a ball into the box, he ends up squaring it towards his teammate who's in an inside right position, and that helps Fiorentina sustain their attack. What you end up seeing is that if he drops off and the center backs don't step with him, Vlahovic consistently is able to link play with his teammates to get them forward. And even if there is tight pressure, he's still capable of playing it first time in towards the attacking trio to get them into advanced positions. The other element to that threat is what we witnessed from Lacazette, and that's where you see Vlahovic dropping off into the midfield zone, dragging away a marker, and then you have the wider players or Odegaard who are now capable of making runs in behind, and Vlahovic is able to hold off the pressure from the defenders in behind and look to serve as creator by playing balls in towards the wider areas or in behind the opposing side's defense. Another key trait that Vlahovic doesn't get enough credit for is his ability to create separation from his markers ahead of him. And you could see on several occasions where he's in that penalty area, often tracked by a marker, and it's just simple movement on the outside or making sharp runs across his marker to create a bit of space for him to get a shot on goal or to place himself in a position where he can create for his teammates. In the build-up to Vlahovic's opener against Napoli, you could see him in the penalty area closed out by 2 Napoli players, and he's not in a legitimate shooting position. But what he does well here is that when the pass is played to him, he locates that the Napoli center back is flat-footed, so he makes a sharp run across him and takes a first touch with his left foot. What saves Vlahovic here is that his first touch is precise, and it now creates breathing room from the center back, and it also takes him out of the game. Ultimately, that good first touch lets the ball pop up towards him, and he has enough time to get a shot off with his left foot before the Napoli defender can recover and make a challenge, and that's how he beats the keeper. Here you see Fiorentina in an unlikely goal-scoring position as Vlahovic and the ball carrier are outnumbered by 3 players in the final third. As that play develops, the ball carrier is able to evade a challenge, and that's where you see Vlahovic not making a run into the 6-yard box, but peeling away from it into right half space to receive the ball. That creates separation, and when the pullback is played, he places himself in a position where he can get a first-time shot off with his right foot. However, when the pullback is played, Vlahovic's first-time effort is tame and at the keeper. And then lastly, while Vlahovic does a very good job of presenting an equivalent threat to Lacazette when he drops off into the midfield zone and creates space for runners with his passing or simply his movement, what we also see from the center forward is that he's capable of backing into center backs, holding off their pressure, and then attracting other defenders towards him so that he could lay off the ball towards his teammates, making runs into the penalty area. In this example, you could see Duncan not being pressed on the ball and focus on Vlahovic backing into a center back near the penalty area. What Duncan does well here is that with that pressure not applied, he takes out 4 players with a splitting pass. And as Vlahovic backs into his defender, you could see another defender shifting over to provide cover. As you can see, Vlahovic does attract 2 players towards him. And as he anticipates that pressure, he already looks to take the ball towards his left and to bypass those 2 players. He's aware that he has a spare teammate in the left channel as an additional marker shifted over to apply pressure. And he takes his touch across the center back, taking that pressure out of the game. And then he now is in a position to slide the ball ball into left half space for the left wing back, and when that pass is played, it places Fiorentina in a position where they're now able to get across into the box, and Vlahovic's positioning takes away two defenders once again, and you could see the run being made from the edge of the box, and that ultimately results in a delivery towards the 6-yard area that helps Fiorentina equalize the game. So as you can see, there's legitimate promise of additional goals that Vlahovic could provide Arsenal due to his productivity in the final third. But his all-around game equally justifies why the Serbian striker is a coveted asset across Europe, as he creates space for his teammates through his link-up play, hold-up play, along with his movement.